So we're going to be talking a little bit about Windows 10 features that may be helpful for your clients with low vision. We won't be talking about narrator or magnifier because that could be a very extensive conversation. I will warn you, this is my first round of recording the screen. Well, not my first time today, but this is a new process for me, so bear with me. Now, these features can be accessed differently. You do not have one route is not the only route. There's many ways to access these features, whether it's ease of access or just in your average settings feature, you will come across them. But we're going to get to some very specific ones, and we're going to use our search through our computer. But first, I will show you how our icons can be enlarged. If you can right click the screen, you can also do a Shift F10 to get your applications menu up. You have view, and the sub menu you have large, medium, and small icons. If we go ahead and hit our large icons, they're much larger. The pictures are the only thing that does enlarge, not the text. But many people identify things because of the pictures. So, like Google Chrome, for instance, many of us can tell what Google Chrome is by the icon that's displayed on our desktop. So, just because the text is not enlarged, that would be nice, but we don't necessarily need it. So, I'm going to go ahead and put them back to medium the way I like it. Now, to search if you want to search for files, folders, applications, any kind of programs, you can hit your Windows key. I'm going to type in mouse. We're going to start with mouse settings. You do not have to finish mouse settings. You can just type in mouse and it'll be one of the top few. Now, we're going to focus right now on the right side of our screen. You can tab if you're a JAWS user. We're going to adjust mouse and cursor size. We are also going to use additional mouse options. So adjust mouse and cursor size. We're going to go ahead and click on it. Change our pointer size and color. So we can adjust this. I usually have mine set on 5. You can also, once you tab to it, under change pointer size, you can use your right and left arrow keys to make it bigger. As you can see, my pointer is getting quite large. Now, if your client is a magnifier user, getting to the largest may be too big. So maybe a mid-size, but don't assume that just because they're using magnifier, they don't need their cursor larger, because most people do. But the largest is probably too large. So we're going to do kind of a mid-size. You can have white, black, or you can do the inverted. Then you have your color options. You can even customize colors. I prefer the yellow. Now this feature itself is just one of the newest that Windows 10 has put into place. I love it. It's a great addition. Thank you so much. Now underneath we have change our cursor thickness. Now this is the cursor that is like if you're typing in a document in Word, or if you're in a search box, you have the little cursor. You have to be careful not to get that too thick, because if it's so thick, it will actually take you won't be able to see the letter right beside it. It actually kind of covers it up a little bit. It doesn't actually scoot it over. It's just actually kind of if you try it, you will actually know what I'm talking about. I'm going to head and why not just make it larger? See, we are actually covering up. The sample box has ABC, and if we make the cursor thickness too large, we're actually inverting the A and B, if that makes any sense. And so to many people that can be very distracting, and because they really don't understand why it's doing that. So we're going to go ahead and we can go to additional mouse settings. That'll take us right back to where we were when we searched. That was just a tab. You could tab to additional mouse settings and then go to additional mouse options. Now, this will take us to a very traditional looking settings box. Now, for any JAWS user, keyboard command users, you can do a control tab to go to the different pages. We won't do anything with pointers page because that's how we would enlarge our mouse or our pointer if we were just using standard Windows enlargements, but they don't get quite big enough. So we're going to go ahead to go to pointer options. This is where you're going to find the most helpful things for your clients when it comes to computers and low vision. One of the hardest things for clients to do is to find their pointer. I can't tell you how many people get lost, they can't find their pointer, and so they may sit there for 2 minutes trying to locate it. And so these features can be very helpful for your client. The first one I'd like to talk about is automatically move your pointer to the default button in a dialog box. This is extremely helpful for someone who's using magnifier because if you're familiar with magnification programs, if you're on full screen, you get a small percentage of the screen itself. You have to move your mouse around to see what else is available. So I like to tell clients it's like putting a small picture frame on your laptop and only being able to see what's in that picture frame. So you have to move that picture frame around. And so if a dialog box pops up, your client may miss it. They may not be able to see it, and it may not take their focus to that dialog box. But by clicking this, it should take your mouse or your pointer to that dialog box so your client can go ahead and see whether there's an error message, maybe it's the save as box, whatever it may be. Although the save as box, it's going to put your focus there, but this is not always the case. So having this do this automatically, take it to the default button, that may be very helpful for putting your client where they need to be. Another option is the display pointer trail. And so what that does, it almost makes like a snake on your mouse. And so you're just seeing multiples of the pointer and in a string of pointers that once it stops, so does the extras. You just have one. And so it gives a little pathway of where your mouse has been and where it's going. And that's a really easy way for clients to be able to find their pointer. Another option, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that feature off. You don't have to, you can have both of these running. But another option is show the location of the pointer when you press the control key. I really like this feature. So what it does is it puts a bullseye around your mouse or your pointer. And so it's just a large circle that starts out big and then goes small until it disappears. And every time they hit control, it will do that. It will not harm their computer because, like many of us know, hitting control does not change anything unless we hit something else. So that is a great way for someone to find their pointer. So we're just going to escape out of that settings box. So those are some of the things that you can change about your pointer, and they're very helpful for clients. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and talk a little about colored filters and high contrast options. We're going to hit our Windows key. So I hit color filters, turn on filters. So color filters is more of a overlay, almost, I guess you could say. And so it's changing all the colors, but it's not necessarily changing the way your menu looks dramatically. I'm going to go ahead and turn on color filters. So right now we have our gray scale inverted. And so that is anything light is dark, dark is light, but it's only going to use our black and white color scale, okay? You can do a grayscale that's not inverted. Then you can do a standard inverted. And so everything's going to be just a tad bit different color wise. See, even our icons, if you, first of all, our desktop is really bright, it's white instead of black. And if you look at our Google Chrome icon, it's different than you would normally see it. So this is very, I would say, disorienting for some people, but a lot of people like that inverted, and I'll show you one reason why. We're going to open up Microsoft Word for an example. So normally when you're in Microsoft Word, it's very bright for someone who has some glare issues. And so here we have a black or a word paper, I guess you could say. And then when you type, you're going to have some white lettering. Me. Okay. Now we're going to do our Alt Tab back to our settings. Now this one also works if you do a Windows Control C. You can have it set to turn your color filters on and off. So there's a lot of options to explore in this area when it comes to what colors work for clients and what doesn't. I'm going to go ahead and turn color filters off. We're going to Shift Tab back over to our menu options, and we're going to go down to High Contrast, which is right underneath Color Filters. And Color Filters also has where if you use the left Shift and Alt plus the print screen, you can go ahead and use that to turn on high contrast settings. But right now we're just going to click it. Now this is very different color-wise, okay? Looks very different. So what this does is your text is going to be green. It has very specific things that it changes. So no matter what is running, whether you're online, as long as it is configured right. Anyway, let's focus. Let's go back to Microsoft Word. So our text is even green, just like it says. Now, this is choose our theme, our high contrast theme. So you can also usually find this in themes as well. This high contrast one is really nice. Many people like to have that black background with yellow text. That's really something people enjoy. They really like that. But it gives you a few options. It doesn't have to be dark. Maybe your individual needs a little bit brighter screen. But one thing I will show you about high contrast is it does change a lot about the way your screen looks. So it definitely makes lines easier to see, things. A lot of people don't like this, but then many people really find it helpful. But it's more crisp, lines are defined, so even text is a little more defined. So somewhere like on our desktop you might not notice, but on the letters of the icons there's usually a shadow behind them, and with high contrast setting on it goes away. So it just makes things a little bit easier to see. I'm going to go ahead and turn high contrast off. One thing I will say is and we're going to go ahead and minimize that because it's awful bright. Now, I will say there are things that you can do other than what I've shown you today. There's so many things for it. Maybe your disability is not vision related. There's a lot of options for you. And so don't feel discouraged. Just see what works for you. Now, our background colors. So on your desktop, your background for someone who has low vision, you wouldn't want to have pictures on it. You would want to have a solid color, and if they prefer a darker color, have it black. Now in settings, when you set up the way your computer looks in display, so let's go ahead and look at that. I'm going to hit my Windows key and display. Sorry. display settings. That is not where I wanted to go. Hit Windows key again. Oh, I see what it did. We're just going to go to color settings. And by the way, I am a magnifier user, so I'm attempting to do this video without magnification. So struggle is real. So anyways, colors, which can be found in settings. So the first, if you hit in colors, you can go down one, go to color settings. It'll take us back to colors. Also, if you go to background, that is also in this area. But in this area, it says choose your default Windows mode. You can have high and low. So that changes whether or not your menus and taskbar, all list views are going to be with a dark background or a light background. Then choose your default app mode. It has a light and dark. So as you can see, our more full screen darkness gives us some options that you might not have considered. Okay, so I really think we've covered a lot of material, and these are definitely something that you can put in practice for yourself or for someone else. If you have any questions, just shoot me a message. No worries.